if I have to share. So I'm gonna share some preview of the website, of the new website, really quickly. Where is it? Okay, here it is. Great. Real quick. Share screen. Okay. So I guess you see my screen, right? You see the new website, right? I cannot see you, so yeah. I can only hear you. Yeah, so really quickly, don't want to spend so much time here. The homepage is not yet built, let's say. As you can see, it finishes here. So let's focus on the new sections. And so we got a new menu, as you can see. You probably, if you see the current website, the menu is already different. And we wanted to feature how to get started, tutorials, the documentation about the specification, and something new that we don't have yet, but we're working on this, is the use cases. We have a new person joining. Okay, let me accept. Cool. So yeah, I was saying that use cases. So we're gonna gather some feedback from current companies, from companies currently using the spec in production. So we can share this with you all. We know some use cases, but it's funny because companies, and it's normal as well, companies come to us to tell us their experience, but they usually never share it. So, and then we get a lot of questions from the community, like, hey, how do you really use it, right? How do you use it in production, or who's using this in production? So we want to solve this, right? So people can see use cases. We're working, or let me just figure out. Okay. Cool. So we're working on the new documentation website. So these are the new docs. And just one thing, do you see any change if I switch tab, or do I have to share?
No, we see it.
You see the new tab?
Yeah,
we see the.
Okay.
We see the
Okay, so I'm gonna use localhost because there's something broken there. This is all a preview, right? So it's not yet. It's a work in progress branch. Okay, so just for you to see the new website. Oh fuck, it's super slow. Okay, anyway, I'll continue here. So yeah, so new things that are introduced here is we now have on the right side the table of contents. Not so useful in this case, but this case may be a little bit more useful. And so yeah, it stays there, blah blah blah, all these cool things, right? We get some new layout here as well, where you can navigate the spec much easier now, right? So you have the table of content here on the right side, and it will stay there all the time. So yeah, not gonna spend so much time on this. So this is the new the look and feel of the new website. We're planning on adding search as a different story after we have the new website, so that you can search for specific things. And yeah, tutorials is nothing else than just pointing to same section, but just on the tutorials, right? Like I was saying, you see it's highlighting overview. It's broken. I don't know why it's doing this, but yeah. What else? So tools. I created a new website landing page, let's say, for the generator. So this is something that I like a lot, that you can now see the code here and you can interact with it here. And if you want to generate, for instance, Java Spring Boot, you can just copy this code here. You can click here and it gets copied. So, or you want to use it through Docker, so you can copy the code, and just to prove it that it's working, I can paste it here, right? So yeah. So there's a new landing page showing, let's say, the good parts of the generator and how you can use it quickly, right? One little detail, and I want you to feel free to use it whenever you want. It's already available. Is this new link, the bit.ly/AsyncAPI. So this is pointing to the streetlight example on the repo, right? So it's pointing to GitHub, AsyncAPI, AsyncAPI 2 examples, blah blah, streetlight, yeah. Okay. So, and it's going to be pointing always there to an example. So if you want to use this example, like if you want to use this for quickly show people or yourself to test something, feel free to use this short link. It's going to be better than typing this long URL, right? So same thing for GitHub Actions. So we have a very similar thing. And same thing, you can you get here a preview or a snippet on how to use the GitHub action. Same thing, you can copy it and paste it on your GitHub Actions, on your Actions folder on your repo, right? Some more parsers as well. So we call it parsers because we plan to have more, but right now we have only the JavaScript parser. So far, that's, let's say that's complete, feature complete. And yeah, so this is more or less the new look and feel of the website. There's a new menu called Community Tooling. So all the tooling that has been contributed by the community and it's not maintained by us, it's going to be listed here, as you can see. So this is all the tooling that community has created about AsyncAPI so far. That's cool. And yeah, so GitHub, Slack, and this is the part that I'm most proud about, probably. It's the blog. If you have seen the current blog, it's a mess. I mean, not a mess. Well, it is a mess, and it's slow. So yeah, so we finally remade it from the ground up to be a little bit more pleasantly or visually pleasant, and also fast, right? So yeah, it shouldn't take you too long to open the blog page and load all the images, right? So all the images are now by default being compressed, and you know, all this stuff. Same thing as with documentation. It's a little bit more easy to navigate now on the blog posts as well. So yeah. And yeah, I don't want to spend so much on this. I think this is just a work in progress. Just wanted to share it with you, an early preview. And yeah, so feel free to leave some comments on the. There is a pull request in case you're interested. I'll share it on the Zoom chat now in a bit. Well, it's actually the only pull request open right now, so it's easy to find. And it's called Migrate to Next.js. Yeah, so that's yeah. I probably missed the biggest point here is that we're not using Hugo anymore. We're using Next.js, and that means that we can do a lot of stuff now that before it would have been super difficult. Like everything is now built with React, the whole blog, and in the beginning I wasn't convinced that I want to create a blog with React because it seemed to be overkill to me. But the more we wanted to do interactive documentation and interactive content on the docs, then I realized that this is already an app. This is not the plain documentation, right? It's an application already. What's the name, Łukasz, for this? Is docs as something?
For what?
Documentations that are applications.
You mean Jamstack or?
No, I mean it's docs as code. Docs as code. Yeah.
Content as code. Yeah.
Content as code. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, in the end, it's dead. It's actually dead, right? So it becomes not just plain docs, but it's actually code. It's not content, just content anymore. I can't find the window to share this. Ah, here it is. No, here it's not. Okay, cool. So I think so far it's basically this. Feel free to, to give suggestions in the pull request or here now. Feel free to leave suggestions. I'm happy to.
Are you running this website as an application in some infrastructure?
Netlify.
Okay.
So this is running on. We were already running on Netlify, so
okay.
we haven't changed that. And yeah, so the cool thing about Netlify is that there's a lot of cool things, right? It's fast. You get build previews per branch, per pull request. So what you saw right now was actually the preview of a pull request, right? So yeah.
Sure.
And yeah, and yesterday I've been looking at the plugins, at the Netlify plugins, build plugins, and you can get search with Algolia almost like instantly, right? They make sure that they index all the pages, and that's super cool. Let's see. So you want me to transfer the power to you?
Transfer the power. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. So next two items, first one is the quick one. So I'm going to jump to number 4. So just a kind reminder that the AsyncAPI initiative, that's a open initiative, a community where we all collaborate together. Un momento, because my daughter asks something. Nie mogę, bo teraz mam nagrywanie. Excuse moi. And so you can, it's not only for me and Fran to write blog posts there. Community can also share their content on a blog. Like, for example, Mark from Solus did recently, or Hector, the other person that published a blog post right before Mark. So how you do it, how you can actually get your blog post here. So as you could see, our website is fully on GitHub. So the same as Fran is doing PR to migrate from Hugo to Next.js. Anyone can submit a PR with a blog post with a markdown file that contains the content of the blog post. But the best way is to always write an issue first. Let us know that you want to do it. So on, for example, website repo, you can just go to issues. click on new issue, and among all the other templates, you have a dedicated template for blog post suggestion. So you can easily create an issue that we will take a look, where you can describe the title of the post, what you wanna write about. And in this blog post, we're just gonna discuss the content and give you instructions how to kick off. And I think the best thing about writing on AsyncAPI.com is the popularity that some of the blog posts get. So I just quickly before the meeting checked. So the recent blog post from Mark that was published last week on Tuesday, so exactly what last week, 7 days ago, had already 5,500 unique page views and 5 minutes 35 seconds of average time spent on the blog, which means that people really read it, not just click and run away. So just to encourage you, to those that are on the call and want to share something, or those that watch the recording, don't be afraid. There are many people that already authored a blog post on AsyncAPI.com, so it's not really very hard to do. So that's it if it comes to blog posts. And the third one topic, the third topic, why it's here, because even though there's the whole explanation of this topic that I will now talk about, everything is in the issue, but I think it's super important to engage as many people as possible in this issue. So it's the issue I want to talk about is related to the generation of types of models for different programming languages, basing on the schemas that you have in your AsyncAPI file. So we made a research. The research outcome is that QuickType is the library that we want to use for generation, because the library is super powerful and it supports, like, I think almost every language in type generation. So we the research I was doing here was not just a reading, but actually coding. So I have a real project where I was actually able to not so easily, but yeah, use the library and generate some code, which basically proves that we can not only just generate simple types, but we can also generate like influence the generation. So like, for example, add a custom annotation based on some conditions. So we have like power to also modify the output, which makes it a really nice solution. And there are 3 different ways of how we could integrate it. So of course, like to fully understand those integration points, you also have to be familiar with the generator, with the docs and code generator that we have in AsyncAPI, for which you write a so-called templates for different languages, or not just languages, but like HTML template or Markdown template. So you decide what exactly has to be generated, or what files have to be generated. And there are different functionalities. So one of the functionalities of the generator is hooks. So you can plug in custom code into the process of the generation, like before generation, after generation, that except of the simple generation, also this additional code will be triggered. So for example, these types generation could be plugged in as a hook. So you can, so you write a template and then write a hook that is triggered after the generation. So you generate the, like, let's say the main part of the application, and at the end also additionally you generate types or models, however you call it, for the application. That's one of the solutions. And here I would like to emphasize again for people that watch recording, because the hook approach is the not that handy in my opinion, and I think Fran already agreed to it, that the types generation should be core of the functionality and not something that you solve with hooks. But if you don't want to wait for this core functionality in generator, you can easily start using it in the hooks, because hooks are like, you can put whatever you want in the hooks. So we could actually, in your template, if you want already to have type generation, just let me know. I can help you out to create such a simple hook, so you can have it and already start generating types instead of templating them in a classical way in generator using nunjucks. And then once we have the feature in, you just switch from hooks to a core feature that we introduce, and it should actually work without any issues, any problems, because at the end we're using the same library. So that's one of the ways we can solve it. But for more content, you actually have to really, like I said, read the issue to understand also the other options. But so far, it looks like the most favored one is the number 2. So that first of all, we don't hide QuickType from the community. It's clear that community sees that we are generating additional stuff using QuickType, because QuickType is like really complex solution. So if someone is familiar with QuickType, it's going to be much easier for him to customize, to modify. And that would be just an additional configuration option for the template, where you enable simply a additional generation with QuickType that you can also modify it. So yeah, it's a pretty complex topic, so we have to read it through and be familiar with generator, but I think it's gonna be a killer feature. So best if we implement it the way you want to have it.
Yeah, that's actually, that's true. It's a clear feature. So for those who are not familiar with the concept of templates, and what we're talking about here is the code generators and the documentation generators. But in this case, it's mostly about code generation, right? And the idea is to generate these models. Is that our tool, the generator, right? The AsyncAPI generator allows you to easily generate, for instance, Java classes out of the AsyncAPI definition, or Ghost tracts, or TypeScript interfaces, or all these examples, right? So yeah, I think I really like the approach of the second point, right? Like, this is a core feature of the generator tool. So the templates can easily leverage a way to easily leverage the generator library to generate these models. But yeah, I mean, super open to suggestions, as Łukasz said. So yeah.
So I'm gonna paste the link to the issue in the chat.
I already did.
Oh, you did it. Awesome. Thank you. You're so kind.
No problem.
So going back to the agenda, so we talked about website, blog, and QuickType, which means that's it. I think, Fran, I think we talked about that. I will add something to the agenda. I think we discussed yesterday something, but I don't remember. I think Mondays, it's not a good moment to discuss.
Let me scan our conversation.
But
well, actually, it was during our chat. Yeah.
But yeah. Probably it's not that important if I forgot about it, so we can just skip it.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, it is actually. It's about the the communication channel and all this stuff.
No, it wasn't about it.
No,
because I knew that we were meeting in the morning, so.
Okay. Yes, true.
So we don't have US community here.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah. end of our topics. So do you have any questions while you're here? Some specific things you want to discuss, or?
Yeah, maybe it's a bit late, but it will be great if you introduce yourself at the end of the meeting. Can you stop sharing, please?
Yes.
It's easier. Yeah.
Thank you.
Should we start?
Yep.
Please.
Short intro. Okay, so I'm starting. Hello guys, my name is Zoltan Simon. I'm based in Copenhagen, Denmark, and working for Soprasteria as a consultant enterprise architect, mainly working with integrations, APIs, and digital transformation. I joined to this thing and following this thing because I think it's a very interesting initiative and it's very needed, long time. So I'm happy to be here and listening in and yeah, hopefully contributing 1 point.
Sounds awesome. Thank you.
Welcome. Who's next? Mohammed, maybe?
Yeah. Hi guys. This is Mohammed. So I'm from India, Chennai. So I'm working in a company called Software AG. Hope you have heard of it. So basically we are working on API gateway and API integration. Yeah, so we contributed to open API tools and parsers. So this looks interesting. So we thought we'll follow it and want to contribute to this. And thanks for this initiative.
Thank
Awesome,
you.
great. Did you join already our Slack channel? Do you know that we have Slack channel as well?
No, I didn't join it. So I will join probably today.
Yeah,
okay, awesome. Okay, great. So we can also discuss details there if you want. We have also dedicated channels for some topics. So, and Fran just sent a link on chat. So
yeah, so
feel invited.
You can get an invitation there.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the
welcome. So I guess next is Madhusudhan. Did I pronounce it correctly? It's not, probably. Okay.
Madhusudhan, we couldn't hear you. Are you talking in mute?
It's probably not there.
Yeah, you're just listening in. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's fine.
That's okay. Yeah.
And do you have any questions, or it's your like really first time and you just wanted to rather see us and see how it goes?
Really the first time, I have to say. I mean, I've seen the invite long time, and that was the online conference I participated, so I'm just catching up on this topic. So, but this looks cool. Fast question with the generator, it looks nice, and of course it's very important. Do you have any documentation? I haven't checked, so that's maybe a new question, but do you have any documentation or blog post about the envisioned developer process around the generator? So it's not just a tool, but how it should be used. So what are the steps in a process? Or it's just a tool and you just integrate into your, so any suggested way of using it in software development?
Yeah, so I maybe can take this question. Well, first of all, to say that, by the way, maybe this is what you wanted to mention, Łukasz, that we just released the first release candidate of the generator. And
yes, exactly. And it's actually important.
And it's actually important, yeah. So thanks, Zoltan, for bringing the topic, because it just came to my mind. Yeah. That yeah, so far we have been in a like a pre-release version, right? So we didn't want to. We've been writing documentation, but it's been changing so fast that honestly, I don't know if the documentation is accurate or not anymore. But
come on, it is. I'm taking.
I think it is. I think it is. But yeah, okay. Yeah, Łukasz is in
it's okay if it's something. You know, the something is more important than nothing. So.
Yeah. So, but the thing is that now that we're about to reach stable version 1,
okay.
The website that you saw has a landing page, and there in the beginning when I designed the website, there was a button pointing to GitHub and another one to a get started, let's say, or learn more button, right? So we're going to include documentation on how to use the generator. We're going to include them on our website, on the documentation, right? We already have tutorials on how to use it on the existing website right now. So there's a tutorial there. There's 2 versions of the same tutorial. One of them is interactive, so feel free to try it. You don't have to install anything.
Yep.
And so that's one thing. And regarding the development process and how to include it in the development process, I think that's an interesting thing to include in the documentation maybe as well, because the way we see the generator is you use it in the beginning maybe to bootstrap your project from scratch, and then as you keep changing your AsyncAPI file, you keep generating the code, right? So we included 2 features in the generator to make your life easier with this. The first one is that you can ignore when generating the new files. You can tell the generator to not generate certain files or not overwrite certain files if they already exist. Okay, so this is to prevent deleting code, business logic specifically. So and configuration parameters that you might have in your config file, and you don't want the generator to override them, right?
Yep.
That's one thing. And the other thing is integration with Git. So if your project where you're generating the code is already a Git repo, and you have unstaged changes, so you didn't commit them or you didn't stage them, the generation fails, okay. Right? So it tells you to commit or to stage your changes first, right? It's actually, that's the default behavior. You can override this behavior with a flag, which is force write, and it will generate it in any case. But yeah, the reason we did this is because some files are gonna be some lines of some files are gonna be needed to be generated, and some others now don't. How do you really differentiate inside the file or some parts of the file? It's impossible, right? You have to probably create a new language or something. So it's an overkill. So the reason we did is like, okay, so we need a diff, and Git has this diff, right? And most people are working with Git, either if it's on GitHub or on Bitbucket or whatever, but it's Git in the end. So so yeah, having the ability to do a Git diff on the changes that the generator created on your project will allow you to discard some of these changes, right? Or to merge them correctly, right?
I think
so that's one way, and the other one was actually proposed by a community member yesterday, and I think it's interesting, and it's about the modularity of the generation process. And instead of generating the whole application, you might just want to generate the class or a model, right? Or interfaces, or just want to generate the subscriber part or just the publisher part. And so there's actually an issue open right now that I opened the other day, and it's about React. So creating the thing is about creating the templates using React, which initially seems like crazy, but then React is all about modules, right? And the cool thing is that you can leverage the same technology, not for generating HTML, but for generating code. The same way you have React for the CLI, or React for the native applications, for instance, right? And the cool thing about that is that we can then have modules, like the module that generates a specific, let's say, the subscriber, the module that generates the publisher, the module that generates the POJO, whatever. So yeah, so
actually that was my second question about this, when you mentioned this class generators as a core feature, that if you have a modularized generator, because if you have a modularized generator, then you can add these flags. So it's yours. I don't know, I haven't checked that, but if you have your generator itself is a modularized system, so you can add this, and if you have modules, then you can just activate and deactivate, and also you can, as the other request asking, you can expose this as an interface, so you can see that, okay, I'm just invoking this module and that module and that module, because what you mentioned is one way of using your tool. You can say that this is a best practice because that's how you envision your tooling and the specification works, but maybe others have other, for example, software development approaches. Like I could imagine, for example, people want to generate code totally separated from their business logics. And in that case, for example, and then you have the option, you force rewrite. So I'm saying, for example, I'm architecting my developer process that this way, you have to always modify the specs and you have to regenerate everything from scratch by ensuring that you are always on the right stage. So there is no mismatch and diffs and merge and whatnot. So that's also a way that might be supported. But what my experience says, this kind of best practices are missing. So people are taking the tools, and then I had monthly debates with developer teams that, oh, actually we should use this.
Yes, I had the same fight in the past, that from people saying that code generation is actually not worth it, and after getting deeper in the conversation, in the debate, you realize that people don't see the value sometimes in code generation because they do it just once to generate the bootstrap code, and then they don't use it anymore. It's not in the life cycle of the code, right? It's not integrated, and sometimes, and most of the times, it's a problem of the code generation tool itself that doesn't allow you to easily integrate into the development cycle, right? So that's something that we already started doing, like, you know, with these parameters and with this integration with Git. We started trying to make it easy for you to keep regenerating your project without losing your business logic changes. I mean, so far, what I advise people to do is separate your business logic, if possible, in a different file, in a completely different file, so you don't have files with business logic and bootstrap code mixed, right? But not only for code generation. I think it's always a good practice to have them separate. Like, this is bootstrap code, and this is my business logic. And tomorrow we use another framework, a totally different framework, and this business logic should not change, right? It's the same thing, right? So it's also a good practice in programming in general to separate these two things, right? Yeah. But there are things like, for instance, routes. You know, the routes are the part where the bootstrap and the business logic are connected, where a message is routed to a specific function of the business logic, and it calls it. These files are usually a little bit difficult to maintain, right? Because it has the signature of the function that it has to call, so your business logic, right? And so it's business logic in itself, because it's the call to that.
At one point you have to integrate, so no.
Exactly. So, but it's better to have the integration point only there, and probably on the config file, as I said as well. The config file is usually another problematic point, because you go to the config file and you add some stuff there, right? You don't want to get rid of this. So yeah.
Thanks.
I think that's a good point. Yeah.
Thanks.
Welcome. And as always, feel free to chime in on the Slack channel and leave suggestions, or in the GitHub issues. And if something comes to your mind that you think we should be doing, just feel free to suggest it.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Hey, hi. So I have a question.
Yep.
Yeah. So when I tried to search the parsers or the converters, the model Pojo for Java, I couldn't find it. So is there anyone started that project so that we can use or we can contribute, or what is the procedure if no one started? Then what is the procedure that if I can start, or so what is the procedure to start a sub project like a converter, Java converter from old version to the new version, like 1.2.0 to 2.2.4, right? So the validator, Java validator, or Java Pojo, Java parser, basically to read this async API document. So is there any existing projects like that, or if we have to start, and is there any procedure to follow, or any steps to follow, or any guidelines or standards that we are maintaining to start a sub project like this, a tool like this?
So yeah, if I understood correctly, I think you're looking for the current tools, maybe. So where they are and how to start collaborating. Is it what you're asking for? Like, where are the tools and how to collaborate?
Asking for no, my question is there any Java parsers or Java related tools to read the async document, or to validate an async document, or to convert the old document to the new one? So I couldn't find any tools in Java in that list of tools, available tools. So if not, then if I would like to contribute by creating a project to validate or to convert in Java. So is there any coding standard? Is there any practice that we are following, or is there any guidelines that we are following for a tool or sub project like this? It would be helpful if you share with us.
I think I lost you. You can hear them? You can hear him, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, we
yeah.
Okay. So so about the Java parser, there's no Java parser so far. So we don't have a Java parser, and we would love to have a Java parser, but the fact the reality here is that a new parser means a new thing to maintain, right? So we have a JavaScript parser that works on the browser and in Node.js, and we have like already started a Go parser, and the idea is for the Go parser to be compiled into many other languages. So the cool thing about Go is that you can compile to C, right? And then these C libraries can be used from many different languages. So we probably will start the Java parser that will make use of these C libraries generated from the Go parser. Does it make sense? So that's one way that we thought about it, because yeah, building a parser is not, it's not an easy task. It has, you know, AsyncAPI, you will cover 80% of the features of AsyncAPI in 20% of the time, you know, the 80-20 rule. But the rest of the features, the rest 20% of the features is going to take you the 80% of the time, right? All the little details. And I can tell you, because it's been more than 1 year for us to build the JavaScript parser already. So, and it's still not 100% finished. So yeah, if there is a guideline for that, we don't have guidelines for that. We have a guideline for contribution, a general guideline for contributors, right? And let me share this with you. Or maybe, I think, Łukasz, this was on the AsyncAPI repo, right?
The GitHub .github repo, the global one.
Okay.
Yeah, but my question would be, when you're asking your question about this contribution, so you're in your vision, you're thinking about writing this Java parser under AsyncAPI organization, or just under your organization somewhere? And what's your vision here? Like, what if you would like to start writing this parser tomorrow? Where would you like to write it? Are you asking if you can write it in AsyncAPI organization on GitHub, or?
So actually, I didn't. To be honest, I didn't think of that. But what the reason for this question is, so if tomorrow I want to integrate AsyncAPI in my product, let's say API gateway. So the product is built in Java actually. Let's say it's in Java. So now I want to integrate AsyncAPI, then I will need these validators, these converters, and these parsers basically. So, and probably I will think of it, and then I'll let you know. Is that fine? And most probably, I mean, I would like to create a parser as part of this AsyncAPI project, so that it would be easy for other contributors to contribute, and it would be easy for everyone also, I guess.
Okay, so I think yeah, I think that makes sense. It's actually the same reason why the Kima team started the Go converter, right? And also contributing to the Go parser, right? Because they had their backend on Go. So yeah, I think it makes sense. The thing with this is, let's make sure that we all understand what it means to create and maintain a new parser, of course, and yeah, for I'm all ears with that. Of course, Java should have its own parser. I think Java and JavaScript should probably have their own parsers because they are the most used languages, and JavaScript because of the browser, of course. And yeah, so Java, to me, I think my feeling was that it really deserves its own spot. But the thing is that none of us were Java programmers, and also, well, our resources, let's say, I don't like to call it resources because now I'm meeting people. So the number of people working for AsyncAPI, it's really small, right? So we are actually just 2 programmers, and Eva, who's in charge of marketing and media. So so really, to be able to have one more person to actually code in Java, we will need more. In this case, we will need more resources to hire people, right? So yeah, that's why we decided to go for Go, right? For the Go parser, because it was easy to then transform it into any other language, right? And it was reducing the overhead. but I mean, let's discuss this if you want after the meeting, and I'm happy to we're happy to listen for proposals and how should we do this, or if you're gonna maintain this parser yourself, and yeah, that's another option. Like for instance, the Kima team has been maintaining the React component for a long time, right? They actually created it and they maintain it. That could be an option as well. Like
Could be that this parser is already existing. You're mentioning that you want to include this to your API gateway. I don't remember what product but you know, we have this integrators like MuleSoft and others. So this kind of parsing is interesting for them also. So I mean,
yeah,
and more important, if you can provide that as an official vanilla thing. So you mentioned this Go. I like the idea. You maintaining one kind of thing, and then you can kind of fork it, or I don't know, just generate a C code, and then you can add it as a library. So
yeah. So one of the the people working on a Java parser that I know of is actually MuleSoft. MuleSoft, as far as I know, they're working on a Java parser for AsyncAPI, and actually they already have some good results. The thing is that I'm not sure, or I don't know where to find it, to be honest. I'll have to look, but I think it's open source. It's just not official, let's say. But what's official, right? What official means here, right?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, I think that's
just about trust, yes, on that sense.
Yeah. So they're going to be maintaining it. So maybe let me. I'm actually, I have a meeting with them today, so
Okay.
I should be able to ask. We have a project that you might not have noticed. That's called TCK, and it's a test compatibility suite for the parsers. And there's only two parsers there: the JavaScript parser that we have and the MuleSoft one.
Okay.
So, and yeah, let me check. I think it was a JavaScript parser maybe on them. I'm trying to find it.
So maybe that's the way to go with the TCK, and then.
Yeah. So the TCK is precisely for that.
This, and then you can decide how much you have to start from scratch, or how much is already done, or.
Yeah.
So going to this kind of efforts is the best way to do, instead of starting yet another one.
Yeah. So the idea of the TCK is precisely to have a suite where we can see if all the parsers behave the same way, right? So it's like that's why this effort was actually started by MuleSoft, the TCK. So just to make sure that our parser and their parser behaves the same way, right? So, but I think I remember that they had their code, their parser code in Java as well, and in TypeScript. But yeah, I will have to check and talk to them. But I think they already started that, and actually I think they're doing pretty well. They're, I think, around 90% compatibility, let's say, finished. So yeah.
I can also look into that, what we have on your side.
Oh yeah, there is. So it's AMF. Yeah, I always forget. Yeah, so it's I think it's Scala, but should be possible to use within Java. But this AMF parser is not AsyncAPI specific. So it's a parser for any API description language, like OpenAPI, like RAML, AsyncAPI. and it's an abstract, let's say, an abstract parser. So you just define how the AST looks like for each of the specs, and yeah, this tool can parse anything. In the end. So yeah, it's not specifically for AsyncAPI. That's my point. But it works. I mean, yeah, I'll talk to them today, and maybe we can have some feedback from them.
So you are saying you will talk with the team, the MuleSoft team, right?
Yeah, I'm talking to them today, so I'm happy to ask them about their parser and how and how it is structured. I think it's Scala.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, Mohammed, join our Slack so we can continue discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Any more things that you want to comment?
Mohammed, you were asking a question, or I'm not sure if we lost you.
I just told nothing from my side. I mean, no questions from my side.
Okay.
Awesome. So I guess that's it. 1 hour.
Yeah.
First. So thanks a lot to all of you for joining. I was afraid that nobody will join. I even set up a wallpaper so I can pretend that there's a crowd. But yeah, awesome that you joined. Thanks a lot, and see you on Slack or other meetings then.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining.
Bye.
See you.
Cheers,
Bye.
bye.